I adjusted the vintage Cartier watch on my wrist, a piece worth more than my brother Michael's new Mercedes, as I walked into Le Cirque restaurant for our mother's 60th birthday celebration. The host's eyes widened slightly in recognition, but he maintained his professional composure. After all, discretion was why I paid an extra premium to keep my regular visits private. "Ms. Walker," he whispered, "your usual table is ready if you'd prefer." "No thank you, James. I'll be joining the Walker party today." I smiled, knowing my family had chosen this restaurant specifically to flaunt their supposed success. They had no idea I owned it through one of my holding companies. "Olivia, you finally made it." My sister-in-law Rebecca's voice carried across the dining room, dripping with false warmth. "We were just discussing your quaint little antique shop. Still managing to keep the lights on." I smoothed down my understated Chanel dress. Not the flashy kind Rebecca wore, but the kind that whispered wealth rather than shouted it. "The shop's doing fine, thank you." If they only knew that my quaint little shop was just the visible tip of a very large, very profitable iceberg. Walker Enterprises, my privately held company, had quietly become one of the largest luxury retail conglomerates in the world. But to my family, I was still just Olivia, the disappointment who'd walked away from the family's investment firm to play with old trinkets. "Darling," my mother kissed my cheek, her diamonds catching the light. "You really should let Michael help you with your business plan. The family name could open so many doors." I suppressed a smile thinking about the documents waiting on my desk. Tomorrow's announcement would open more than doors. It would blow the entire luxury retail world wide open. Speaking of the family name, Michael lounged back in his chair, swirling his wine. "We just closed another major deal at Walker Investment Group. 10 million in pure profit." "How nice," I murmured, accepting a menu from James, who was trying very hard not to reveal that I usually dined in the private owner's room. "Nice." Michael scoffed. "It's extraordinary. But I suppose when you're selling dusty antiques, any number over 3 figures seems impressive." Rebecca laughed, adjusting her ostentatious new engagement ring, the one Michael had bought to replace the inadequate 3-carat diamond he'd given her last year. "Oh, Michael, be nice. Not everyone can handle real business. Some people are just meant for smaller things." I checked my phone discreetly. The final paperwork for tomorrow's acquisition had just been delivered to my office. Walker Enterprises was about to acquire Lux Global, the world's most prestigious luxury retail chain. The same chain that had rejected Michael's investment proposal last month. "Miss Walker," my assistant's text appeared. "CNN wants to confirm the timing of tomorrow's announcement. And the board members are asking about the Lux transition plan." "Confirm for 10 a.m., I typed back. "And tell the board everything's proceeding as planned." "Olivia, honestly," my mother sighed, "put the phone away. Just because your shop isn't doing well doesn't mean you need to work every minute." "Mother," I started, but Michael cut me off. "Let me guess. Another estate sale? Or perhaps a wealthy dowager looking to unload her grandmother's jewelry?" He smirked. "You know, if you'd stayed at Walker Investment Group, you'd be handling real assets, not pawing through old ladies' cast-offs." If he only knew that the old ladies' cast-offs I'd sold last month included a rare Faberge egg that went to a private collector for 8 figures. Or that Walker Enterprises now controlled nearly 30% of the global luxury retail market through a complex network of subsidiaries and shell companies. "Actually," I said quietly, "business is quite good." "Good." Rebecca's laugh tinkled like cheap crystal. "Darling, you work in a tiny shop in the old retail district. Michael's new watch cost more than your entire inventory." I glanced at Michael's wrist. The gaudy Rolex he'd been flashing all evening was actually a recent reproduction. I knew because Walker Enterprises owned the company that made them. The television mounted above the bar caught my attention. CNBC was running a special about tomorrow's big announcement, though they were still speculating about the identity of the mystery retail mogul behind Walker Enterprises. "More wine, Ms. Walk, ma'am?" James caught himself just in time. "Yes, thank you." I watched as Michael launched into another story about his latest business triumph, completely oblivious to the fact that his major deal was actually a minor transaction in a market I controlled. My phone buzzed again. The stock market was already reacting to rumors about tomorrow's acquisition. Lux Global's shares were climbing in after-hours trading. Did you see the news about Lux? Michael suddenly asked, his tone smug. They're being acquired tomorrow. I tried to buy them last month, but apparently some mystery billionaire beat me to it. How fascinating, I murmured, thinking about the look that would be on his face this time tomorrow. Rebecca leaned forward, her designer dress barely containing her enthusiasm for gossip. I heard it's some reclusive tycoon who never appears in public. Probably some old man who doesn't understand the true luxury market like our Michael. Mother nodded proudly. No one understands luxury like the Walkers. It's in our blood. I thought about the empire I'd built over the past decade while they were all busy underestimating me. About the networks of high-end boutiques, the auction houses, the luxury brands that all answered to Walker Enterprises while maintaining their independent facades. More than you know, I said softly, but they were already absorbed in planning Mother's next birthday celebration, at a resort I happened to own through another holding company. As the evening wore on, I watched my family parade their success like peacocks, each boast and barb reinforcing their certainty that I was the family failure. Little did they know that by this time tomorrow the Walker name would mean something very different in the luxury world. And I had a feeling their definition of small shop was about to change dramatically. The birthday dinner reached its crescendo when Michael stood to make a toast, his Rolex replica catching the light as he raised his glass. To the Walker legacy, he proclaimed, and to keeping success in the family. My phone vibrated silently, another urgent message from my executive team. The Asian markets had just opened, and rumors of tomorrow's acquisition were already causing waves. Our stock monitoring systems were detecting unusual trading patterns around Lux Global shares. Speaking of success, Rebecca chimed in, her voice honey-sweet with malice. Olivia, darling, we simply must do something about your little situation. Michael and I were discussing it and we think it's time for an intervention. I raised an eyebrow, taking a sip of the vintage Bordeaux that the sommelier had specifically selected from my private collection. An intervention? Yes, my mother joined in, patting my hand condescendingly. We've watched you struggle with that tiny shop for far too long. It's time to accept reality and join the family business properly. Michael leaned forward, his expression serious. I've prepared a position for you at Walker Investment Group. Junior associate, of course. We have to maintain standards. But it's better than plain shopkeeper. The TV behind them switched to a breaking news alert. I watched with hidden amusement as the financial ticker showed Lux Global's stock surging on speculation about tomorrow's announcement. Actually, I began, but Rebecca cut me off. Don't be proud, darling. We all know your shop is barely breaking even. Those dusty antiques and second-hand trinkets. It's hardly befitting the Walker name. My phone buzzed again. The private jet was ready to fly me to New York for tomorrow's press conference. The board of Lux Global was assembling for the final signatures, and my legal team had finished reviewing the last details of the $12 billion acquisition. Second-hand trinkets? I mused, thinking about the rare Monet I'd authenticated and sold last month for $50 million through one of my auction houses. That's an interesting perspective. Olivia, Michael said firmly, it's time to grow up. The luxury market is changing. Walker Investment Group just tried to acquire Lux Global. If some mystery buyer hadn't outbid us, we'd be controlling the largest luxury retail chain in the world. I checked my watch. The vintage Cartier that had once belonged to a European royal family. In exactly 12 hours, the mystery buyer's identity would shock the financial world. About that mystery buyer, I started, but was interrupted by the arrival of Mother's birthday cake. A lavish creation from the restaurant's acclaimed pastry chef who, like everyone else here, reported to me. Look, Michael pointed to the TV, there's more speculation about the Lux acquisition. They're saying it's the biggest luxury market deal in history. He turned to me with a patronizing smile. This is what real business looks like, sis. Not your little antique shop games. The news anchor was speaking excitedly. Sources say the mysterious CEO of Walker Enterprises will finally reveal their identity at tomorrow's press conference. The acquisition of Lux Global for $12 billion is just the latest in a string of strategic purchases that have made Walker Enterprises the dominant force in global luxury retail. Walker Enterprises? My mother frowned. Any relation to us? Must be a coincidence, Michael dismissed it. No one in our family would have that kind of money without me knowing about it. He laughed, adjusting his fake Rolex. Besides, we're the only walkers that matter in the business world. Rebecca was scrolling through her phone. It says here Walker Enterprises owns over 200 luxury brands and retail chains. They've been operating in secret for years, building an empire worth. She gasped. Over $50 billion. Imagine, I said quietly, building something that's significant while staying completely under the radar. Almost like running a small antique shop as a cover. Something in my tone made Michael look at me sharply. What do you mean? Before I could respond, James appeared at my side. Ms. Walker, your office called. They need you to approve the final press release for tomorrow's announcement. The table went silent. Every head turned toward me. Office. Rebecca's voice had lost its honeyed tone. What office? I stood slowly, smoothing my dress. The Walker Enterprises Executive Office. 48th floor of the Walker Tower downtown. You know the building you tried to buy last year, Michael? I had to deny that bid, by the way. It wouldn't have been appropriate for you to lease space in my headquarters. Your headquarters? Michael's face had gone pale. Behind him, the TV continued to speculate about tomorrow's big reveal. Yes, I replied calmly. Walker Enterprises. The mystery buyer you've been talking about all evening? That would be me. The silence that followed was deafening. Rebecca's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. My mother's carefully maintained composure cracked like fine porcelain. That's impossible, Michael sputtered. You run an antique shop. I own an antique shop, I corrected him. Along with several hundred other luxury retail businesses, including this restaurant. And as of tomorrow morning, Lux Global, the company that rejected your acquisition offer last month. I picked up my clutch, a one-of-a-kind piece from a fashion house I'd acquired last spring. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a press conference to prepare for. James will take care of the bill. I've arranged a permanent family discount. It's the least I can do for the people who thought I was just playing shopkeeper. As I walked toward the door, I paused and turned back. Oh, and Michael, that Rolex you've been flashing all evening? We started manufacturing those replicas last year. The real ones are considerably more expensive. But I'm sure the junior associate position you offered me comes with a good benefits package. The look on their faces was priceless, worth far more than any antique in my little shop. But I wasn't done yet. Part 3 of my revelation would teach them the true meaning of the Walker legacy. And it would start tomorrow morning at exactly 10 a.m. The next morning, I stood in my private office on the 48th floor of Walker Tower, watching the city wake up. The wall of screens behind my desk displayed various news channels, all speculating about the imminent Lux Global announcement. Ms. Walker, my executive assistant Sarah entered. Your family is in the lobby. All of them. I smiled, adjusting my custom-made Alexander McQueen suit, from the fashion house I'd acquired 3 years ago. Right on schedule. How long have they been there? Since 7 a.m. Your brother has tried to use the executive elevator 6 times. He keeps insisting there must be some mistake about his access being denied. The night before, after my revelation at dinner, I'd returned to my office to find dozens of missed calls and messages from my family. Michael had left increasingly desperate voicemails, each one shifting from disbelief to bargaining. Rebecca had sent a series of fawning texts about family unity. Mother had simply sent one message: we need to talk. Ms. Walker, Sarah continued, the board is assembled in the main conference room. Lux Global's executives have arrived, and the press is gathering in the lobby. I nodded, checking the markets on my private terminal. Walker Enterprises' still private stock would go public today as part of the Lux acquisition. Another detail my family didn't know yet. Have security escort my family to the VIP section of the press conference. Front row seats. I paused, a small smile playing on my lips. And Sarah? Make sure Michael's seat has a clear view of the stock ticker. The next hour was a blur of final preparations. My legal team confirmed the last details of the acquisition. The PR department distributed press packets. And somewhere 48 floors below, my family was about to learn just how big their little girl's shop had become. At 9:55 a.m., I took the private elevator to the ground floor. The lobby of Walker Tower had been transformed into a media center, with cameras from every major news network ready to broadcast the revelation of the decade. I spotted my family in the front row. Michael looked like he hadn't slept, his normally immaculate appearance slightly disheveled. Rebecca had obviously rushed to buy a new outfit, the tags still visible on her sleeve. Mother sat rigidly, her face a mask of controlled chaos. At exactly 10 a.m. I stepped onto the stage. The room fell silent. "Good morning," I began, my voice carrying through the packed lobby. "I'm Olivia Walker, CEO of Walker Enterprises." The cameras started flashing. Behind me, the massive screen displayed our corporate logo, the same stylized W that my family had seen countless times without making the connection. Today marks a new chapter in luxury retail. Walker Enterprises is acquiring Lux Global in a $12 billion deal that will revolutionize the industry. But that's not the only announcement we're making. I glanced at Michael, who was staring at the stock ticker with growing horror as Walker Enterprises holdings were revealed one by one. Walker Enterprises will also be going public today, with an initial market capitalization of $50 billion. This includes our existing portfolio of over 200 luxury brands, retail chains, and yes. I smiled directly at my family, one small antique shop in the old retail district. The room erupted with questions. Reporters clamored for details about the mysterious company that had operated in shadows for so long. But I wasn't finished. As part of this transition, we're also announcing the Walker Foundation for Retail Innovation, a $5 billion initiative to support small business owners who, like me, believe that success isn't about the name on your business card, but the vision behind it. Rebecca's perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide her shock. Mother's composure finally cracked completely. "The foundation's first project?" I continued. "Converting Walker Investment Group's headquarters into an incubator for retail startups. The paperwork for that acquisition was finalized this morning." Michael jumped to his feet, but security smoothly prevented him from approaching the stage. "You see," I addressed the room, but my words were really for my family. True luxury isn't about showing off wealth. It's about understanding value. Something I learned in my little shop, examining priceless antiques that only revealed their worth to those who knew where to look. The stock ticker behind me showed Walker Enterprises shares soaring in their first minutes of trading. My net worth was climbing by millions with each passing second. "Questions?" I asked the assembled media.